now we're going to look at the physical contributor exercise. Bettina, we know that the World Health Organization recommends 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous exercise for 5 to 18-year-olds every day. And when I say moderate to vigorous, I mean that you should be able to talk but not sing, if you ever wanted to sing whilst you're exercising. We also know that it's prescribed to help those suffering with anxiety or depression or other mental health conditions. But how can the science help us and our children better understand this?
So science tells us that particularly the pre-adolescent phase is a critical time for the development of some of these important movement skills. It's like a window of opportunity. Okay. So in the doing contributor, you may have listened to that already, but we talk a lot more about this idea of neuroplasticity, the idea that the brain changes in response to what we do. So if we want our children to develop these skills, we have to get them doing it in order that their brain changes its structure and function so that they can do it better. And there's this idea of use it or lose it. So if you stop doing something, your brain stops it, those pathways go away because the brain thinks, well, I don't need to be able to do that thing in the environment that I'm living in right now. So it's a real window of opportunity. It's very, very important for many aspects of their brain development that they are regularly learning some of these skills. Okay. So we also, as you alluded to there, know that cognitive performance is really enhanced by physical activity. So again, many studies have shown a link between physical exertion and attainment. We know that exercise is linked to improvements in mood. And we also know that when we are working, we need to have movement breaks. Okay. So actually there are individual differences in this degree. So some children need very regular movement breaks actually when they're learning. Every 10 minutes or so they might need to get up and kind of go and walk around the garden.
Don't get cross with them.
Exactly. You know, it is a limited resource and we need to move in order to kind of reset our brain. And then I think more recently, research has begun to talk about the fact that particularly for children, exercise really shouldn't be a chore. You know, it's important that children are enjoying movement, and socialization is an important part of exercise when we're playing games. You know, there are many aspects to movement that you can incorporate and think about as a parent.
Okay, so when we think, you know, because sometimes we think about sporty children and so on, but actually in the same way that perhaps a child might not play a musical instrument, but they can still enjoy music. So just because you're not, I don't know, in the football team, it doesn't mean that you can't enjoy being active. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. It's not about being coordinated. No. It's about moving in whatever way you enjoy and works for you.
Okay, and then so for parents, how can they kind of translate that and help?
So translating it, opportunities, you really need to think about daily opportunities for exercise and movement, even if it's walking to school, it might be clubs, it might be team sports, it might be dancing, there are many, but giving opportunities for exercise. Modelling is always going to come in when it comes to exercise and all of these physical contributors. Thinking about movement breaks, as I just discussed, when they're learning, don't get cross with them. If they're struggling to focus, go, okay, maybe you need to go and do some star jumps or go on the trampoline or whatever is an option. And then I suppose, as with the other physical contributors, it's important just to talk a little bit about communication, because these things can really become a bit of a battleground, particularly during the teenage years. And I think, let's think about three things when it comes to communication. First of all, as the parent of a teenager, of any child, but including a teenager, you can have a boundary. So the boundary is you have to do some form of exercise. But then give them a choice within that. So they're allowed to choose what that exercise is. And when they have made a choice, then they need to make a commitment to it. Yeah. So for example, if you say to your child, you know, you've got to do one after school sport. They say, I'm going to choose badminton, for example. They go to the first badminton, they say, I don't like it. You say, okay, well, you committed to doing it this term. We'll review next term, we can think about it again. So bear those things in mind when you're thinking about communication and kind of boundaries and
choices.
Exactly.
They're not actually at polar ends. Okay, that's really helpful. So I suppose, thinking of the questions then, perhaps the first one is, what opportunities do you and your children have for exercising and being active and developing these movement skills? And does this feel the right balance for you and your family? Because I think sometimes, you know, you either feel like it's too much, sometimes it's not enough, so kind of working out if it's right for you. And secondly, do you think your children understand the link between movement And then ability to focus and learn. So that cause and effect question again.
And is there one thing that you can commit to or think about as a family that you might want to just make a tweak given what you've learned from this video today?